Can you go away on holiday and leave your property portfolio behind? Well, the answer is if you're just going to take a long weekend in your home country in the UK or whatever, then that would be easy. What about a week? Probably we've all got our phones and everything. We can stay connected online. But what if you wanted to go traveling? We're planning to go away shortly. We're going to be away for an entire month. Yes, I will be able to get online. Yes, I will be able to tell my agent and my broker and anybody else that they can contact me through WhatsApp and we'll have Wi-Fi. But is that really what you want to be doing when you're away? When we went away for our last holiday in Egypt, we got one property that the sale didn't go through. So it was a real faff. And every day I'm having to check my phone to work. That's not the point of a holiday. The holiday is a break. And so the question is, can you go away and leave your portfolio? Can you trust your letting agent, let's say? And so I would say to you that the most important thing here is systems. So last week we spoke about the team. Part of the team is the letting agent. And if what you have is a great system that manages the letting agent, and then you time your portfolio business, and it doesn't always work, trust me, but if you can time it that you are not about to buy a property or about to complete a property when you're trying to go away, that would be really helpful. And if it is, well, then you've just got to deal with it. But if what we're talking about is the day-to-day, month-to-month maintenance and management, and obviously checking on the income, you need your systems. So I would say to you, the first thing you need to be looking at is, wait for it, an Excel spreadsheet. I believe an Excel spreadsheet, because in that one sheet, you can start to track everything. You want to track your money coming in. That's crucial. You want to track the repairs on the properties because that's where the money goes out. You also need to keep a track of things that come up on a regular basis, like your insurance, your gas certificate, and electricity performance certificates. Just leaving a gap there because of the plane for you. So why does this matter? I mean, if you've got a letting agent, isn't it good enough to just book your holiday, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks, and let the letting agent get on and assume that the letting agent is going to collect the rent, and you could just say to them, I'm going away, and you can carry out any repairs up to £200 and let them get on with it and leave it to that. That's all you need to do. Well, I hinted last week, and at the moment we are still going through a bit of drama with one of the properties that I manage, and I will speak to you more about that. But that's what's really triggered this series of conversations with you, because it really matters. I have good systems and still things can slip between the cracks. And it's well and good buying a property. It's, congratulations that you've put a tenant in and you've not had many void days. But if you don't actually get the rent and you don't stay compliant and legal and you don't maintain the property to a decent standard, then sooner or later, what should be an investment is going to cause a problem for you. So my name is Vicky Wushay, and this is A Wealthy Life. And I want to explain to you why you need to have systems that allow you to go away on a 4-week holiday if you want to. And even if you don't, you need to have the systems in place that you could. So that's what we're going to cover. So first off, and I say this a lot, property is just a specific flavor of business. It's a business, and all businesses have to generate an income. And from that income, expenses are removed, and that leaves your profit. Although we're going to have someone talk about that in maybe a month or so now, and they'll spin that on its head for you. But we'll stick with the regular way at the moment. Income minus expenses is profit. So if you do not check that you're getting income, how are you going to pay the expenses? And if you don't manage the expenses, how are you going to make sure that there's a profit? So the first thing you want is either someone or some way of checking that the rents come in and to monitor these repair costs as they come in. Now, I've already given it away. I've got a spreadsheet and I'll share the details with you at the end if you want. And this is a spreadsheet that my bookkeeper, come financial VA, come, basically she's almost as good as my financial director. She plays such a key role in my business. Corinne made for me. And what we have on one simple Excel spreadsheet is a way to monitor the rent, a way to monitor repairs, a way to monitor every trigger point in running a property business. And I'll go back to this and say it to you again. You want to make money out of this, so you need to check that the rent is coming in. Do you know how much rent you are due? Do you know the date it is due? Have you checked that the charges being presented by the letting agent are fair and decent? Are you aware of additional invoices or expenses that are being deducted from your statement? So you need to start having a look at all of these things to make sure you're on top of the maths. It's very easy to be on top of the maths that come with buying the property. That's great. I'm really pleased you understood all those numbers. That's when you can spend the least, if you want, by making those numbers good. When you make the most is when you make sure that the money's coming in and not just drifting out because it's going out on repairs that you're unaware of. And I'll give you an example for this. You might start to get a repair on a specific boiler, and then maybe 6 months later, another repair. And it could be a sign that that boiler is coming to the end of its life. And therefore, what you might want to do is trigger a service along with your gas safety certificate annual inspection. And at that point, get the gas engineer who's working with you to give you a life expectancy of that boiler. How much life is left in that boiler? Is it safe? Is it going to keep functioning? Could it fail this winter? Because it's much better if you know that a boiler is going down, that you prepare in advance, you put the money to one side, you replace it on your terms, rather than having a boiler fail in the winter months when the tenants are going to be without hot water or heating, and you've got to pay that expense whether you've got the income sitting in the account or not. The second thing as a landlord is that there are a lot of legal requirements as a landlord. So this is why, again, as I mentioned to you last week, the letting agent is so important. They are the ones that are going to stay professionally up to date to the minute of what's going on in the legislation. You also should make sure that you go through your own training and that you are qualified, and we'll talk about that later. But let's just take a little look at the initial documents that you need to have right at the beginning. When your tenant moved in and there was a contract drawn up, is there evidence, signed evidence, that they not only signed the tenancy agreement, which is frequently what happens, we tend to do all of this online, DocuSign, e-sign, all of that sort of stuff going on, but did they get a copy of paperwork about the tenancy deposit scheme? Did they get a copy of paperwork about, in the UK, they should be given the rights to rent document, how to rent? Have they had a copy of a current past gas safety certificate, the energy performance certificate, the electrical inspection certificate? Now that only has to come up every 5 years, not every year, but they still need to get it. And these have to be given to them on day one when they sign that tenancy agreement. And you, the landlord, need evidence, signed evidence, that they have received all of this paperwork. How do you tick that off? Where are the checks in place for that? And I know what we're doing is we're talking about going away. I understand that. But once you set a system up to monitor things right at the beginning and set them up in the right way, then it's actually quite easy to then follow through and use those systems as a way to maintain the portfolio. If you have a system that checks the tenants receive the gas certificate when they move in on day one, and you might just get a brand new gas certificate that time, or it might be within a few weeks of the date of the move in of a tenant, then it's very easy the next time that a tenancy agreement comes up, or the next time that the property comes empty, Or the other way around, the next time the gas certificate becomes due, that you knew that the tenancy agreement needs to be renewed shortly. So either one will lead the other, or they'll both match up. And then this becomes part of a system that you can track and monitor to make sure that your property is safe and compliant. Remember, while you're employing a letting agent to be the managing agent of the property in most cases, unless you're going to take on that role, let me just explain that then. So when you, in the UK, when you take on a letting agent, there are two roles that they can perform for you. They often call it full management, which is where they get the tenants in, they check that the tenants are have the right to rent, that they're legal, they do all of the paperwork in terms of the contracts and all the documentation, and then they go on to, on a monthly basis, collect the rent and handle any repairs for you. That's full management. The other side is that they could do the whole tenant fine bit for you, and you take over all of the management responsibilities. Either way, someone is the responsible managing agent, and it's either you or it's them. If you take on full management via a letting agent and you are employing them to be the managing agent and they have the responsibilities, basically you've employed them, so they're like your employee and you are now their manager, and you need to make sure that your member of staff is doing their job. And so you have to have systems in place to handle this. And again, if any of you either work in a business, run your own business or anything else, you know what a pain it is to manage your staff, whether you're managing the letting agent, whether you're managing gas and plumbing and electricals, or whether you're, if you do HMOs, you've got to deal with TV licenses, you've still got insurance. There's all sorts of other bits that could go on. Who is helping you with this? Now, you can get a qualified VA, and you can train that VA in all the things that you need them to do for you. So a virtual assistant, or a physical assistant if you want to, but a virtual assistant, and they can monitor it. And in a sense, that's what I've got. I live in the UK, Corinne lives in Australia. We have an agreed spreadsheet that she completes. I send copies of all the emails to her. The letting agent sends emails to her. So when I get a rent statement, they're sent to me and they're sent to Corinne. So I can check them, she checks them. And when there's an exception, she then contacts me immediately and we deal with that exception. When a repair comes through, because it's on an online system, I send a copy of the information to her. She imports it into the sheet. We monitor it. If she starts to notice that the same boiler in the same property, or maybe the same tap keeps dripping, or something keeps happening, the same door is sticking, we can trigger that then as something that we want to look more closely at. The point is, unless you're doing the business like I am, where this is my job, this is my business, I love doing this for other people, the people I am doing it for, my clients, don't want property to become a full-time job for them. They want property to be a way that their money works harder, but they don't. And so that's what we're looking to do. Put in place systems that means that your money is working hard, but you're not. And that's because there are dates in your diaries and a spreadsheet that you report to, and hopefully even when you've got 2 or 3 or 4 properties, a VA that is dealing with things. So in the coming months, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start creating a series of system-focused training videos that I'll start sharing with my clients, because for years I've been doing this on a very sort of ad hoc basis, as and when someone needs it. I've been going through that process with them on a Zoom, and I've never really collated them and made them formal. So we're going to be doing that over the coming months, and that's going to be available to my clients. So expect to hear more about that. But meanwhile, here's a top tip for you. I'm going to say the word again. Ready? Excel spreadsheet. So I have created a master version of the Excel spreadsheet that I use, and I'm quite happy to share that with you. It's worth well in excess of £300-400 if I was to sell it. I tend to give this to my clients. If you would like a copy, drop me an email. What I would like in return is a review of the podcast. So if you would please rate and review the podcast, then I will happily share with you this spreadsheet, which will save you fortunes. So do me a favor, send me a copy of the review that you have written, and I will be very grateful. And then I will send you a copy of the spreadsheet. And so what are we going to be talking about next week? So next week, we're going to get into some nitty gritties of following on this line, if you like, the team that are involved as part of the lending process. There will be a surveyor or a valuer that's involved. And so when is a crack a bad crack, really? Is that what we're going to be talking about? But in the meantime, I know this has been a very sort of quick one, but it's been a very, very important topic, systems and setting them up in a way that property doesn't eat up your life, cause you stress, or worse, lose your money, is absolutely crucial. And I don't need to bang on about it because there's a spreadsheet there for you to help you if you would like it. So do drop me an email, send me a copy of the review that you've given me on podcast. Hopefully you found this 5-star information. I would be very grateful. And I hope that I have put some whoosh behind your property business. My name is Vicky Whooshea. This has been A Wealthy Life, and I will see you next week. Very best wishes.